Thank you, Vince. Very inspiring words, and thank you again for making the trip up. Appreciate that. And yes, you betcha. Our last speaker tonight is Tom Bergeson, 1981 graduate of LHS. Tom, like many of the coaches here pointed out, Tony, Mike, and all of us here have special relationships with, I call them kids, I'm sorry, players that we've coached in the past. And, Tom is certainly one of them. After graduation, he received an appointment to the United States Air Force Academy and graduated in 1985. Tom then served 35 years in the Air Force, retiring as a Lieutenant General 3-star. He's also a fighter pilot with over 3,000 hours in F-15s, F-22s, and A-10s, and has had multiple combat deployments. He commanded at every level, including the 7th Air Force in Korea, and retired as a deputy commander of the United States Central Command. CENTCOM includes over 150,000 United States forces that conducted combat operations in Yemen, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, and now Iran. He didn't include this as well, but he's obviously a very proficient fighter pilot and has done the training. And can I share what your nickname is? If you look at the movie Maverick, that's Maverick on both ends. That's Maverick, the fighter pilot, and also Maverick, the trainer of the pilots. So we have an awful lot to be proud of with all of our speakers tonight, and certainly Tom is no exception. So, Guns, you want to talk? Thank you.
So I don't have Tom Cruise's money, just to be clear about that, even though I played him in reality. This is amazing. And, I'm a military guy, and like Coach Sally served 35 years, and I'm used to great Americans coming up and saying thank you for your service. And I promise you that never gets old. That's incredible. That's sort of generosity of spirit. But I want to flip the script on that, because there's a bunch of people in here that have served and are continuing to serve, that have made a positive impact, as Fitz talked about, on literally thousands of lives. And so I would like to have all the coaches or heads of any of the extracurricular activities please stand so we can thank you for your service. Come on, you are. And I'd be remiss if I also could thank the spouses of all those men and women, because I know they're putting in equally the work, if not more, to make that happen. As Coach mentioned, I had a long career. I guess I wasn't good at anything else in the military, but I got the opportunity to, yes, be a fighter pilot, which I love. It's way more fun than it looks. It looks like a lot of fun. Going upside down never gets old, so I just want to put that out there. But eventually, they expect you to do more than just fly an airplane. They expect you to actually lead and command forces, to do the nation's business when called upon, and that's serious work. And I was very honored to have been a commander of a fighter squadron that's 24 F-15s, 500 airmen, pilots, maintenance, communication, everybody else that could pick up and take the show on the road when necessary. I had the opportunity to command a fighter wing That's 5,000 airmen plus 4,000 soldiers that were connected with us of F-15s, F-22s, C-17, C-12s. I got to command the 7th Air Force, which is in Korea, which is now 30,000 airmen. Plus, I was a deputy commander of U.S. Forces Korea, so that's basically all of the Korean military that would fall under our command. And then finally, I got to command 150,000 soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines doing the nation's business in the 21 countries that were mentioned, including most recently the Iran strike. And I don't wish war on anybody, but if the nation is going to call us to do something, we want to execute it with perfection. And so I was proud of the team that executed that mission the other night. But it all started literally for me back here at Wisconsin Rapids and Lincoln High School. And there's so many influences in my life that are sitting here in the crowd. I mean, Coach Farrah took me flying. For the first time, Coach, you set me on the path to have an aviation career. And I didn't know that I'd be any good at it because I was a little intimidated because you were really good. Coach Nelson, I'll talk about you. Coach Fisher, obviously Coach Mancuso. My God, what a man, what a speaker. And it's been 44 years since we've been together. But it feels like yesterday when we see each other. So thank you, coaches. I just became a grandfather about a couple months ago, and I feel a lot more sappy all of a sudden. You would have not have bothered me like a year ago. So go back to 1980, the football team. And Coach, we had some great baseball teams, so I don't want to be dismissive of great Rapids baseball. But the 1980 football team was a special group because we were undersized overachievers. Like, we were picked to finish, I think, maybe dead last in the Valley Conference. And somehow, some way, we ran the table. Like, we ran the frickin' table. And we made it to the show. We won't talk about the show. Although it still haunts me to this day. Coach had a couple of plays we should have called. But, in that group, was super connected. And we'll talk about at the end kind of the origin story for Team Rapids, but some of it comes from that collection of guys that have event together, although we feel like we never left each other in all those years. It was incredible. But during that season, we all kind of learned what white looks like. And there's a lot of characteristics of any successful person, I think, that were sort of ingrained in us for that year. I just want to talk, hopefully briefly, about some of those that translated to my successful military career. And the first one, maybe no surprise, starts with discipline. Now, this is the discipline that you might think about the coach making me do radar reminders because I got up here a little bit early, right? All the burpees and running 10 yards and burpees. Those are healthy. Those are good. They're not a lot of fun, but they're good. But more important is the concept of self-discipline. Like, you own the responsibility for making sure you're as prepared as you can be, right? You're in the gym lifting weights. You're running. You're getting yourself fit so that you're not letting your teammates down and that you're not waiting for somebody else to tell you to do that. And we had a lot of guys that year that had that self-discipline, that they were not going to let their teammate down. Or I joined the Air Force, and I'm a second lieutenant fighter pilot, and you get your very first fighter squadron. And I can tell you, there is a serious expectation for self-discipline. They need you to perform. And not performing, there's no excuse for. And so you take it very seriously. And so if you ever were to debriefing, you never want to be in the debriefing and be the guy they pointed out is screwing up. Because you just didn't want to be that guy. They call it the limiting factor or the LIMFAC. We like acronyms in the military. You never wanted to be the LIMFAC. And that sort of came, that's how you should look at, when you're in sports, right? You don't want to be the limp back. Now, you might be sometimes. You should have the humility to admit that. But you don't want to be that. So do the work. Do the work on your own. Have that self-discipline. The next is trust. So Coach Nelson coached the line. He used to put his hand out to do the 2 to 3 foot splits, the lineman, right? Right? And you're going to trust the guy next to you. Jay Bebke was going to reach left and right. He was the center to the guards. And those guys were going to trust each other for executing the play on time and making the block they needed. And John Melbrook was going to let his ass wait through that hole that they were at grade 4. Sorry, I said ass. Sorry, kids. I'm a fighter pilot. There is some language. Sorry. So take a 3 foot split and now be on a wing of an airplane and you fly 3 feet away. But you're going 500 miles an hour. And oh, by the way, now I can see the guy, that's fine. But now it's dark. And now the weather comes in. It's terrible weather. You can't even, it's pouring rain. But you're staring at a little like glow stick on the wing. And that is where you're going to be. You're not going to be from there. Now do that for 14 hours and fly to Saudi Arabia to go execute a combat mission. And oh, by the way, there's not just 2 of you. There's 2 on the other side of the flight lead. And oh, by the way, there's 4 more F-15s behind them, 4 more behind them, and then there's 3 air refueler tankers that you're flying on the wing of that are taking this force toward combat. That's trust. It's trust in your leader because they're taking you where you're at. You're just going to fly the glow stick. And he's trusting you that you're not going to run into him. And you're going to do that. You're not going to talk on the radio. You're just going to execute. That's trust. That's the guy left and right of you executing the block. I learned team building. Team building means there's no cliques. If you're a senior and you're a cool kid, you're not putting down the juniors or the other underclassmen that are trying to make it. You're lifting them up. You're showing them what right looks like. That doesn't mean you don't have high expectations for them and you don't hold them accountable, but you're not demeaning them. And in the military, we joke a lot between airmen and sailors and soldiers, right? We have our early inter-service rivalries. But at the end of the day, when we go execute a mission, we do it as a team. And don't be divisive and break your own team down. Be a voracious team builder at all times. And we had that in our team. There was cliques, and they went away. We took that away to make each other a team. Pride. I hope everybody that's got anything to do with Team Rapids or WR feels that sense of pride. When you put that uniform on, the guys back there, you're not only representing you in that uniform, you're representing me and everybody else that ever wore that uniform and those that are going to come. So we always had a saying in the Air Force, you could never take the uniform off, you can't obviously take your uniform off. But it doesn't mean in your personal life and your professional life, you carry yourself with pride, right? And that you can feel that sense of pride. Humility. The term humility and fighter pilots are usually not used in the same sentence. It's an oxymoron, because my English teacher taught me the word oxymoron. But humility just means that you may have made mistakes. You may not know everything. In fact, you don't know everything. So have the intellectual ability to admit that you could be wrong. And what's so important is when you get into the debriefing, when you're doing the film study, that you have guys that are giving you the reason why they screwed up what they were supposed to be doing, so that you can get to the root cause of what the problem was. Humility would take you a long way. So I think that Wisconsin Rapids, just in general, breeds the kind of humble people that are willing to do that. And I learned so much from that. And then I got into the debriefing, the ability to take what you did and go into a debriefing and learn from it. So in the flying world, for every 1 hour of flight we would do, I'm sorry, I'm running long. I'm my grandfather, I can hold her.
For every 1 hour of flying we would do 2 hours of debriefing. That's how seriously we took it, right? That's where the learning really occurs. And I appreciated more now than I did then the film study and film sessions we did. They were invaluable for figuring out what the mistakes were of the team, but almost as importantly for figuring out, looking ahead at the next opponent, what their tendencies were. I mean, we got really good at that. And I always felt when I was playing defense on that 1980 team that I was in the huddle because I could read the keys that that offense was showing me. I knew their tendency from film study that I could anticipate. And even though I'm slow, I could get there fast. And the exact same thing applied when I was flying airplanes. And finally is find a way to win. That's the strategy of it, right? Find a way to win, which means you need to know your advantages and your disadvantages. You need to understand the other team's advantages and disadvantages. And how do you take advantage of your advantage and minimize your weaknesses, right? And I don't think this is just a coach's job. I think the players need to be deeply involved in preparing the strategy. Sorry, coaches that are coming up. But I think they need to be deeply involved so they bought in. And, by the way, they probably know their weaknesses and strengths, maybe even better than you do. And so I remember when Coach Ferry, and this is going to happen again, but I was a JV quarterback, and he let me call the plays. Like, when's that going to happen again? Like, he let me call the plays because we knew what was going on in the huddle. And we could take advantage of our advantages. And so from a military perspective, like that's what we do. We look at in this case, the enemy's strengths and weaknesses, and we try to find a way to take advantage of our advantage. A lot of people don't take advantage of their advantage. So I don't want to belabor the strike on Iran, but we took advantage of our advantage of air power, and we were able to execute that successfully, but that was a highly complex mission. It brought everybody home safely. So, I want to close with a thought from a guy named General Douglas MacArthur. It's a famous quote. And if you go to West Point, which is a rival school of the Air Force Academy, but I give them their credit. They just had their 250th anniversary in the United States Army. And you go to their football stadium. On their stadiums you walk in is this quote, which I think is applicable to tonight. On the fields of friendly strife are sown the seeds that on other days, on other fields, will bear the fruits of victory. Which means success in life starts on the soccer field, or the football field, or the tennis court, or the debate club, or the band. I was a band guy too, right? That's where it starts. And that will carry you on to success. And so now with Team Rapids, that's what we're trying to do. Team Rapids is family taking care of family. Let's lift everybody up and give them the same opportunities we might have had, because that will create success in life, and success will beget success. So thank you. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jay, for leading the charge. Thank you. The show wraps.
CTG